Hello, and welcome to the super world of pseudoscience! This video is a little bit different from my normal ones because it's part of a class assignment. In my science class this semester, we've been reading this book called Science and Society by Peter Daemfle. I'm going to talk about chapter 9 where Daemfle discusses pseudoscience. So, what is pseudoscience? In the book, it's defined as the body of knowledge and methods presented as scientific, but not grounded in or meeting the standards of scientific process. A couple other definitions are along the same lines, basically saying that it's stuff that claims to be scientific, but doesn't have scientific backing. Science is based on empirical evidence, and it's verifiable and has reliable results, but pseudoscience doesn't have any of those attributes. In 1965, Karl Popper proposed that the best way, or maybe even the only acceptable way, to approach science is to view it in terms of conjectures, truth, and reality. He said that scientific theories are genuine conjectures made in an attempt to discover the truth, and that truth has multiple layers of reality that coexist together. But most importantly, he stated, the scientist can never know for certain whether his findings are true, although he may sometimes establish with reasonable certainty that a theory is false. I mentioned this in a previous video where I did a scientific experiment and disproved my hypothesis. So science relies on disproof, but pseudoscience relies on proof. And relying on proof introduces a huge problem with confirmation bias, which is looking for or even making up evidence to support your claim and disregarding the evidence that might disprove it. One of the claims that Daemfle makes in the book is that pseudoscience is an attempt for us to blame our problems on something other than ourselves. He mentions a quote from Shakespeare's King Lear. It says, "An admirable evasion of whoremaster man to lay his goatish disposition on the charge of the star." Basically, he's saying, tricky you, blaming your horniness on a star sign. But now let's get to the fun part. What are the different types of pseudoscience? Some pseudosciences are pretty widely accepted. These include alternative medicines like chiropractics and acupuncture, also fad diets, astrology, UFOs, ESP, and other paranormal activities. A poll of over 1,000 American adults showed that almost half of them believe in ESP, and over a third of them believed in ghosts and UFOs. Wait, did I say chiropractics and acupuncture when I was listing the different types of pseudosciences? Yeah, mostly these just don't have the type of scientific backing that real scientific procedures need. There have been some studies that support these and some that don't. The thing with this sort of stuff is that their health might have improved anyway, even if they didn't have treatment, or that their problems have a psychogenic origin in the first place, so thinking they're being treated is what ends up fixing them. And we, at this point, just can't or haven't separated those variables in experimentation. So some alternative medicines could well be true, but further research is required to gain the scientific backing that it needs to be considered true science. One of the most popular pseudosciences is fad diets. You always hear new things. There are just tons of different conflicting ideas. Often fad diets just make claims prematurely when they really don't yet have the research needed to provide conclusive evidence. Often you see diets that have good initial results, but then when it's taken into the long term, it actually has negative effects. Another fun one is astrology. This is what was mentioned in the Shakespeare quote, and it's a pretty prevalent one too. So I wanted to read my horoscope for today. I'm a Sagittarius, so today it says for me, "You're such a smooth talker, but right now there's a danger of letting your mouth run the situation without having the goods to back it up." That doesn't sound anything like me, honestly. Slow down and get your mental processes in hand before you do any more talking. Yeah, I usually think before I speak. This isn't really helpful at all. Let's go to another one. Let's see. Worries about money could be uppermost in your mind today. You have suffered from some financial setbacks and wonder how you can muster enough funds to get over the hump. That's not really applicable to me right now either. Nah, that's awkward. Okay, let's look at what it says about my Chinese sign. Learning to read body language will be important because your friends may say one thing and mean another. Now it's just some vague stuff that's good for everyone. I mean, like, that's one of the things about horoscopes and other similar things like psychics and palm readings and stuff like that, is a lot of times it's just phrased vague enough that it lets you apply your confirmation bias to it, and so you're just looking for ways that applied to you, and then you're like, oh my gosh, this was perfect, it's exactly what happened. It's just kind of silly. There was also a couple of studies mentioned in the book that said that they took thousands of politicians and scientists and looked at their sun signs, and there is no statistical correlation. Also, have you ever heard of the left brain, right brain theory? It's from the 1960s, and it said that those who are more logical use the left hemisphere of their brain more, and those who are more artistic use the right hemisphere of their brain more. But there's also now been neuroscience analysis on this idea, and it's been proved false. MRIs show that people don't use one side of their brain more than the other. Pseudoscience also includes the less popular things, which are the things people think about more of when you mention pseudoscience. Like, the first thing I think of is phrenology, which is determining people's characteristics based on the bumps and the shapes of your head. That one's kind of silly and just doesn't have any scientific backing whatsoever. But it's still kind of entertaining to say what your head could say about you, or what your palm could say about you, or what the dots in your eyes could say about you. Those different types of pseudoscience. And there's also other things like handwriting analysis, or like the study of creatures like Bigfoot. But that's pretty much a really broad overview of different types of pseudoscience and what pseudoscience means. And if you believe in any of the pseudosciences, like the ones I mentioned here, that's totally okay. You have the right to your own beliefs. But you need to recognize that it is based on belief and not on empiricism or what makes up the scientific method. Pseudosciences are not scientific. It's what people try to pass off as science, but really it just doesn't have the research necessary. Some of them might be true, some of them might not be. But at this point of time, we just can't support them scientifically, so we need to accept that they are not scientific. Well, thank you for watching. It's been fun making this video. I hope you learned a little bit about the different types of pseudosciences and what it really means. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you like educational videos, subscribe to my channel. I post things like this, educational videos, about every other week. And then on the other weeks, I post about Harry Potter and Star Wars and other fun stuff like that. So if you like that stuff, subscribe too. Also, look, I'm trying this out. Looky here. I posted a video a few weeks ago about a scientific experiment I did, and I mentioned like one sentence in there that was about pseudoscience. So if you like this one, then check that one out. And if you like educational videos, I made a playlist of all of my educational videos, and you can just click here to find those.